Thank you, Coach Early, and thank you all for being here today. It's a difficult day for me, but also a very joyful one to reflect back on what has been such a tremendous ride over the past 26 years as the lead announcer on the Vol Network. In 1972, I arrived at UT as a walk-on fullback from Kettering, Ohio. I didn't know a single guy on the team. I didn't know anybody in the state of Tennessee. I'd only talked to Coach Bill Battle for a few minutes, and I'd talked to some of the assistant coaches. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I'd even last through training camp or two-day practice sessions. But I did. I got to wear the orange shirt, played freshman football against the likes of Alabama and Notre Dame, memories that will stay with me for a lifetime. What a thrill it was to play in Neyland Stadium. So you don't have to look it up. I had 9 carries for 36 yards, and I caught a pass against Alabama. With those gaudy numbers, I still don't know why Coach Fulmer, who was a graduate assistant coach on that team, I don't know why they didn't give me the ball more, but Coach Fulmer and I are still working through those issues to this day. But I still give Coach Battle a lot of credit and a lot of thanks for just allowing me the chance to play for Tennessee. While my football career came to a close after that freshman season, I was able to transition into broadcasting, and the places I've been and the people I've gotten to know, it's remarkable. It's really hard to believe and put into words how fortunate and blessed I have been all these years. I wouldn't be standing here without John Ward. He gave me the opportunity to be the film editor on the Bill Battle Show when I was still in school. Later, he gave me the opportunity to be a spotter for football games. And sitting next to him for 15 seasons, I learned how to be a broadcaster, and more importantly, I learned how to do it the right way. He would tell us, I don't need you to be excited about the game, but I need you prepared. When Lindsey Nelson moved back to Knoxville after his Hall of Fame career, I was able to spend some quality time with him as well. Sitting at dinner with him at the old Regus on 17th was magical. The stories he told me of his career with the New York Mets and the Cotton Bowl games, and how he took the idea to form the Vol Network to General Neyland. His advice on being a broadcaster helped me so much. He told me, once you get in this business, you're going to get one break. Are you ready for the break? Have you worked hard enough? And I tried to work hard every day because of the advice Lindsey Nelson gave me. George Mooney did the Vol Network games before John Ward. George moved into a senior living facility in Bearden when he retired from broadcasting. My mom lived in the same facility just down the hall. Getting a chance to know George even better was what a thrill. He told me stories of taking his old fishing boat down the river so he didn't have to battle the traffic. From those humble beginnings, the Vol Navy started. His stories about working with General Neyland and calling the games featuring the Swamp Rat, Dewey Warren, Johnny the Drum Majors, the 1956 Georgia Tech game, the 67 Alabama game, those stories were priceless. Each time we talked, I got a lesson about Tennessee football and, more importantly, the Vol Network. George still had this booming voice. I'd go see my mom, and George would be in the lobby with a microphone calling beanbag baseball games with the little old ladies in the facilities and the Bearden High School baseball team. The little old ladies won every single game. My first paying job in the business was at WIVK. I worked for Bobby Denton. While at IVK, I got the chance to call Farragut football and Lady Vol basketball games back in the late 70s. I'm not sure anybody else wanted to do the Lady Vols back then, because in those days, 150 people at Stokely Center was a great crowd. I got paid $15 a game to start. I never viewed it, though, as women's basketball. I viewed it as SEC basketball. Nobody had any idea in those days that a graduate student named Pat Head would build a college basketball dynasty here. Wins and championships started piling up. Thompson Bowling Arena would sell out to watch the Lady Vols eventually. Pat Head became Pat Summitt, and I was there every step of the way for her first 6 national championships. She was an amazing coach, an amazing leader, a role model, and a motivator. If she was your friend, you didn't need a better one. I need to thank Jim Hart, Jeff Lee, 2 of my general managers I worked for, and my colleagues at WBIR-TV, and one of my old bosses, Margie Nichols, is here, my old news director. Mr. Hart and Jeff and Margie never stood in my way working for the Vol Network, calling Lady Vol basketball games, Knoxville Blue Jay baseball games, Knoxville Cherokee hockey games, Nashville Sounds baseball games on TV, Westwood One radio NCAA tournament games, and Jefferson Pilot football and basketball games on TV. Mr. Hart and Jeff especially didn't have to let me do all those outside activities and play-by-play work, but they knew how important it was to me and my career. And all my bosses never stood in my way or blocked an opportunity for me to grow. And not all TV stations are like that. I thank WBIR for allowing me to grow as a broadcaster, a journalist, and a person. I want to thank Dr. Joe Johnson and Doug Dickey. They hired me as the lead announcer on the Vol Network in 1999 when John Ward retired. At the time, I was working at WBIR and doing SEC football and basketball games on television. I was not looking for this job with the Vol Network. When Coach Dickey called, I'd not applied, I'd not sent a tape or a resume. I was very happy where I was and with what I was doing. Coach Dickey called me the Monday after John's last game in the NCAA tournament on a Saturday. The draw to return to the Vol Network and to work at my alma mater was too strong to turn down. Now, 26 years later, I have not changed a thing. I want to thank all the coaches I've worked with through the years. All treated me with respect and helped me do my job. I want to thank Edwin Huster, Steve Early, and everyone that I've worked with over the years at the Vol Network, and all the Vol Network folks here today. My broadcast partners, Tim Priest, Pat Ryan, they're here today. Jeff Francis, Rusty Enzer in baseball, Bert Bertelkamp in basketball, and Tim Barry, our engineer, all these years. I'll always remember the great wins over Alabama, winning games in the swamp, calling the basketball game when the Vols became #1 in the country, winning the SEC basketball tournament and SEC championships, NCAA tournament wins, so many great memories. I want to thank my family here today. My wife, Tammy, she held down the fort when I was traveling all over the country calling games. I missed a lot of time with my kids, Allison and Melissa, who are here today. They grew up, but I missed horse riding competitions and soccer games, lots of concerts, lots of events when my 2 girls were growing up. I missed a lot already with my 4 grandkids, ball games and other events. We just learned we have another grandson all the way coming in April. I think it's time for me to be a full-time granddad. I want to thank the great fans at Tennessee, our loyal listeners on the Vol Network. We wouldn't be here and do this without you. You made it all possible. And the passion of the Tennessee fans never ceases to amaze me. Thinking back this week, hard to believe that I've been at a UT or an SEC football or basketball game every weekend since 1972. Time to spend more time with my family at home on the weekends. I want to thank Brent Hubbs, who was with me every step of the way too in the booth and tries to keep me straight, gives me information, and he's been a valuable resource, and I thank him for not only being with me, but having our friendship for so many years. This is not a snap decision. Over the last 5 years, I've evaluated when the basketball season concluded if I still had the passion and the energy to keep doing this. This summer, we met as we always do, and I couldn't guarantee that I could continue for years to come. While I still love the game day, and I still love being in the booth with our new grandson coming along, I just thought it was time to let somebody else sit in this seat. I'll enjoy my kids. It's not a health thing. I'm as healthy as I've been. I'm not being forced out. This was a mutual decision. I'll miss being in the booth, being in a winning locker room, watching the team run through the tee. But I will have more time with my family. I'd like to open it up if you got any questions. Yeah, Rick? Oh, somebody passed them. Oh, you got a mic.
Hey, Bob, great to see you.
Thanks, Rick.
So all those years ago, back in 1999 when you took over for John, what was, recant the excitement level, maybe the butterflies, about to assume a position that I know you respect so much?
Yeah. Well, you know, in these positions, you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy. You want to be the next guy. And so, but I thought about that. But, you know, I thought this job only opens up about every 30 or 25 years. So if I was going to get it, I might as well take it. But I won't lie to you. I was nervous. I didn't know what I was getting into and how this was going to work and what I was going to do. And I do remember my office used to be in Stokely Center right over there. And I was walking to my first game against Wyoming. And I'm walking past the volunteer statue, getting ready to make my grand entrance into Neyland Stadium. And there was a guy in the back of a pickup truck. They were carrying ice to the stadium. And the guy yells at me as he's going around the corner, "Hey, Bob, good luck tonight. Don't embarrass us." And I thought, well, okay, that's a pretty good way to kind of get hit in the solar plexus. But, yeah, it was nerve-wracking. But you know what, Rick, I had the confidence that if it didn't work, I could get another job. But you just, when your alma mater calls, it's very, very hard to turn down, and I'm glad I didn't. Anybody else? Yes. What we got, I'm sorry, right? Yeah.
Hi. Wasn't sure if you had any thoughts on who should be your successor and what it takes to be the voice of the Vols.
Well, I think one thing that Lindsey Nelson told me, that take a job because of the passion, and not necessarily your passion, but the passion of the fan base. If you're doing games and nobody's listening, it's no fun. So whoever gets this job is going to have a passionate fan base, and I'm sure by the time this afternoon is concluded that Alicia will have about 300 tapes on her desk. So I'm sure she'll be able to find somebody really good. But no, I haven't, and I won't be a part of that decision either. John?
Going back to when you first started working with the network, can't begin to imagine the advances in technology. And so I'm just curious, did you ever imagine folks would be able to consume college athletics the way they are today? And in just being able to broadcast the games on the radio, how different is it from the first time you signed on as the voice of the Lady Vols to what it is now?
Oh, it's totally different. When I was starting out working with John, we had to do Big Orange Football Today. That was the pregame show. And it was reel to reel. And after the games were over, I had to paste together all these interviews. And then I would take it to the bus station downtown, the Continental bus station downtown. And that tape would then be sent to Chattanooga to make dubs for all the 100 stations on the Vol network. That tells you how far technology has come from putting reel-to-reels on the bus to now just having this technology. It's been totally different. And but the one thing that's stayed constant, all the people want to know what the score is, how their team is doing. And as long as you provide that. And Coach Early wants me to get all the commercials in, so that's what I've tried to do. So maybe one more. Anybody else? Yeah.
Can you describe your interaction with the student body here at Tennessee? I think there are a lot of student broadcasters who have walked through these doors, and you've been an inspiration to many of them. Can you describe a little bit with the student body?
That has been one of the most amazing things about it, and I've gotten a lot of texts today and emails from people that have come through. We used to do a broadcast camp here, and a bunch of those folks have advanced, and they're doing really well. I've always thought, and somebody told me one time, that when you have the opportunity to help somebody else, you have the right to say yes. And that's what I've tried to do. So I've had an opportunity to help a bunch of folks, at least give them a direction to get started. And anybody that ever calls me or wants me to listen to a tape, I always do it, because that's what John and Lindsey and George Mooney did for me. So I try and pay it forward. So, but that's a great question. I'm proud of everyone, the Courtney Lyles and the Tom Harts and all these guys that have kind of come through here, and we've helped them. It's been special. Neil Price at Mississippi State will be in this weekend. He was a member of the Bob Camp way back when. So having him come in, and that's going to be special. Anybody else? One more, maybe? That it? Well, I thank you for coming today. I'm going to close by telling one last story. When Coach Dickey hired me, first day I was on the job was July 1st. I didn't even have a game till September, so I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do, but I kind of grew into it. But he took me to Naples Restaurant. And he told me, he said, now listen, Coach Dickey used to talk with his hands all the time. He said, you're going to have people tell you that you're the greatest broadcaster that's ever lived. Well, that's not true. You're somewhere around in here. I mean, you're not up here, but you're somewhere around here. And you're going to have guys tell you that you're the worst broadcaster that's ever lived. Well, that's not true either. You're not down here. You're somewhere around in here. I don't know where you are, but you're not down here, but you're somewhere around here. He said, just go out and do the best job you can, and there's only one person you got to please, and that's me. Keep me happy, you'll be fine. I've tried to keep Coach Dickey happy for the past 26 years. I hope I have, and I hope Tennessee fans have enjoyed our broadcasts. And I got to get back to work. We got games coming up. I'll see you Saturday night. Thanks for being here.